Live out here in Las Vegas, SportsGrid, talking to Marshall Newhouse. I'm Kevin Walsh. That's Ben Stevens. Marshall, excited to talk to you again. We've talked a few times, so you're a Super Bowl champion, and that's amazing. But we got to get to the most important thing that I'm guessing not enough people have said.
Okay.
The hat's fantastic.
Beautiful hat.
It's a gorgeous hat.
Yeah. Do you know why I'm wearing the hat?
No. Oh,
I grew up in Dallas. I am an actual Texas Rangers fan.
Yeah.
Congrats on the World Series.
Exactly. Yes. We're another tortured fan base, another sport. You know, this little stylized with the T upside down.
Absolutely.
But I love the look, but it's got the World Series logo on, and you can't beat it.
Now, that is a Texas hat.
Yes.
An upside-down T.
Okay.
What almost confused thing for an upside-down horns up that we throw
and you
down.
making that connection is okay with me,
Okay.
Because I didn't say it explicitly.
Right.
You
I said it.
dots, so we won't get in trouble for the adjacent horns down, if you will.
Yes.
It works perfect. So, Marshall, I want to ask you about the two coaches that you played for towards the end of your NFL career, Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Two coaches that I think everybody will acknowledge are great. They are moved on from at the end of the season. Neither getting hired was absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I'm just curious from you, watching on the outside, were you surprised to see those guys ultimately moved on from and then not picked up somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm going to ride the fence because I say yes and no. I am surprised because of their pedigree, their success.
Yeah.
You're like, if to us it's obvious, any team would want that as a person leading the organization. But then you realize there's only 32 spots.
Mm.
And open this year, there were only, 8
Yeah.
spots? It's just it's a scarcity thing. And on top of that, if you're Bill Belichick, you have the success, the pedigree, there's still got to be a fit because the owners are their own bosses. No one tells them what to do. They may ultimately make the final decision. And if Bill Belichick in these meetings is asking for a certain standard of control, a level that he's accustomed to or that he wants, if they ultimately don't agree with that, it just might not be a good fit. That doesn't mean that they don't want his winning acumen, the program building that he does. They just might not be ready to turn over as much of that control because we got to remember when he signed in New England, that wasn't the case to start off with. He built up to that and earned that right for that amount of control. So a lot of these owners aren't willing to just part with that carte blanche. And so it's a combination of things. And so I think even with Vrabel, too, to a certain degree, it's a certain style that has to really align with the ownership group, the people who make those decisions. And so what it might come down to is both of them take a year off. You see the new every year there's coaches that are getting fired. You'll see the new match next year, and there might be a fit. It shouldn't speak to their level of competency as coaches because we've seen it already. We know what we're looking at. It's just a matter of fit, and it's just only a certain amount of spots available.
When you look at Bill Belichick, of course, he is known for the Patriot way. I think a lot of that has trickled down to Mike Vrabel. You spent time under Vrabel. You spent time under Belichick, 2019 up in New England. How demanding is the Patriot way and that style of an organization?
Yeah, it's turned into a pejorative, for people who haven't experienced it, and I get that. But to me, it's just very simply, it's a demanding, accountable environment. It's a very pure football place. I don't think there's anyone on this planet who loves football more than Bill Belichick. If you ever get into a conversation with him, not as a coach, he is a historian of football. He loves it, truly. I think Vrabel was cut from that same cloth, as a player more so. And I think both guys they build programs based on accountability. And then ultimately they get guys to buy in because the winning ultimately is the byproduct of that. And it's different than what a lot of people are hoping for or expecting. So it's jarring for a lot of people. I grew up a coach's son. I'm used to hard-nosed discipline. I'm a little old school in that way. So it wasn't too far-fetched for me to sign with Bill Belichick. The story of me signing that year was I was in camp with the Saints, got injury reserve cut at the end of camp, and was a free agent. I go and work out when I heal with New England, and I sign on a Wednesday morning. I get thrown right into meetings, right into walkthrough with Tom Brady and Bill. I start at tackle on a Sunday. In the middle of the game, the starting left tackle goes down. I flip to the left side. Not many people can do that. That's demanding. Would you say? Would you agree?
I would.
And so it's not for everybody. And then in practice, via Dante Scarnecchia, the O-line coach, one of the hardest individual periods you'll have in the league, known. Guys talk. Guys know it's hard. It's demanding, but there's a method to that madness. But again, it's not for everybody. And so there are guys who've gone there and they come back and they report from the battlefield to the next team like, oh, that place stunk.
Yeah.
And there's other guys who were like, it was fine. It was hard, demanding, but it was fine because we saw winning in the future. We saw the byproduct of winning, and so it just depends.
Winning cures all, I think, is probably often
and ultimately,
the
that's
idea.
why there's a separation of the coaches from those jobs because the winning stopped being as apparent.
Yes. Yeah. So let me then just kind of talk to you a little bit about this game that's coming up this weekend here. The winning for Kansas City has been consistent. So consistent that we don't realize that the Niners you can't call them a dynasty because they haven't won a Super Bowl, but they're always here, right?
Sure.
They're always playing that NFC Championship game, it feels like, as minimum. The big difference is Brock Purdy. As you've watched this Niners offense specifically, how do you feel about their starting quarterback heading into this game?
I think he's a stellar quarterback, and I think the discourse just got out of hand because we speak in superlatives and binaries too much, and there wasn't a way to describe Brock Purdy in a positive way as a game manager as like that is an ultimate compliment. And what he does is operates in that system with Kyle Shanahan, with exceptional players like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. He operates in that system for what they're asking him to do. And what we saw also in the NFC Championship is because he has so much talent around him, they haven't asked him to go above and beyond yet, but then he scrambles for 50 yards. We see a little quickness out of him that we hadn't seen maybe since college. And you're like, oh, okay. But we're starting to see what they see internally. And unfortunately, we can't help ourselves but to compare him to the best in the league, which he's not there yet. Maybe he can be there, maybe. But he doesn't have to be to lead the team the way they need him to lead them. And so the conversation got out of hand. And comparing him to Pat, Lamar, and Josh was just unfair to him because in his own right, he's very good. He does what they need. And then he's still young. He was Mr. Irrelevant, a young quarterback growing into that position. He's got so much more. I mean, Pat now is in year 7, year 8. Give Brock Purdy that time to figure out what he can do above and beyond the system. And so at this point, he's exactly what they need. I think he's got them in this position as much as anyone else. And so I like their odds in this game, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch it play out. I forget that myself. This is his sophomore season.
It's crazy. It's unfair. It's just unfair to him.
It's a great point. Marshall, always a pleasure. That is
Thanks,
Marshall
guys.
Newhouse, Super Bowl champion. Don't you forget it. We're live out here in Las Vegas with SportsGrid.